Bulgarian split squats, a phenomenal exercise. I'm gonna give you guys a quick rundown of some of the different setup variations and then some of the different execution variations and why you might want to choose one versus the other. Ultimately, there isn't one way to Bulgarian split squat and there isn't one best way. It's really just more a matter of what do you want out of them. First and foremost, I see a lot of people using the bench. If you have good ankle mobility and decent front of the hip mobility, and you're fairly tall, the bench might be a great option for you. For most people, the bench is too high and they're lacking a little bit in the hip and ankle mobility to really get the most out of that rear leg on the bench. So if that's all you've got though, we'll go here, try to get that back foot nice and flat, okay? Rather than like this, or even worse like this. So back foot nice and flat, and then we want to think about in general with the Bulgarian split squat about keeping internal rotation of the hips. So not letting your hips externally rotate on you, especially in the bottom. Some of you folks will notice that back leg wants to turn out. Try to avoid that and maintain your neutral pelvis position and a little internal rotation of the hips. From there, play with your spacing and see where you feel most comfortable. And then last but not least, we can think about the Bulgarian split squat is not a true unilateral exercise, right? It is a stagger stance bilateral exercise. It's in the name, it's a split squat. That being said, I like to perform them where the back leg is doing a bit of work, right? This top part of the quad here, this rec fem, this is a great opportunity to train it here. And generally speaking, we can provide more stability and move more weight when we involve that back leg and we push off of it, right? This variation is gonna put a lot more work on the quads, more of an upright torso, and I'm pushing on the back leg. The other variation, I'll use this more as a kickstand, added stability, and I'll have like 70, 80 or more % on the front leg. That would look more like this. You'll notice my chest is more forward. I'm getting more angle at the hip, less angle at the knee. All right, so a couple things with this. One, I'm gonna hit more hip, a little less quad, right? And I'm gonna hit much less of this rec fem of the back quad. Okay, so both good options, just know why and what you're doing. Generally speaking, I don't really love the bench. This would be a better option, using a couple of low plates where you're keeping the ball of your foot in contact. And we're creating a very similar setup here, but taking away that ankle flexibility requirement. Often people feel a little more stable this way. But from there, all else is the same, right? We can still do more of a quad biased Bulgarian split squat or more of a hip glute biased Bulgarian split squat, simply by changing our foot positioning and emphasizing the torso angle a little bit. Last and best case option, if you have one, you can find some of these on Amazon for fairly cheap, to be honest, a great tool to have. You can adjust the height and make it exactly the height that you want. From there, it's really comfortable. You can get really good roll action right on the bottom of the shin and where the ankle meets, and it allows you to put a lot more pressure comfortably on that back leg and really engage that rec fem or that upper part of the quad I was talking about really well and create a lot of power and stability there. One final note on that, if you're not used to doing split squats that way, or this isn't a part of your quads that you've hit very much in the past, be gentle, start slow with those. It can feel like a bit of a stretch. Over time, it is a bit of a stretch. Over time, we'll get a lot stronger there, but be gentle with it. Okay, so that's your Bulgarian split squat. A couple of the options available to you and why you might use them. One final note, biggest thing with whatever variation you guys are doing is keep your hips neutral, right? Meaning, as I go down, don't allow this to happen in the bottom, right? It's a really common one that I see. Instead, maintain that neutral position. You'll feel a lot more pressure on that quad, and we're here. Same thing on this one, right? I want to make sure that as I go down, I'm maintaining that hip angle, and then I'm not letting myself get broken and overextended in the bottom. Enjoy those tips, and I hope you enjoy your Bulgarian split squats a little bit more.